The Workflows tool is where all the magic happens inside of HubSpot, because it's where you build all the automations that saves your team time and increases your performance. Today, we're going to explore everything you can do with workflows and walk through building a simple nurturing workflow together.
Welcome to HubSpot Hacks, where we help you get more out of HubSpot.
To get access to the workflow tool inside of HubSpot, you need to have a professional or enterprise license on any hub except for Content Hub. There are quite a few different types of workflows and workflow actions, which we'll go through today, but the exact actions and types of workflows that you have available do depend on your license. So sometimes there's things that are available in the Marketing Pro Hub that aren't available in the Sales Pro Hub. There's things at the enterprise level that aren't available at the professional level, etc. So we're going to be using a portal that does have enterprise access to everything, so we can show you everything. But in your portal, if you go in to do something and something is grayed out, if you click on it, it should tell you what license you would need. We'll also link up a resource in the description below so you can get a quick glance at what subscription you need for each type of workflow and action. But without further ado, let's dive into building our nurturing workflow. So to start, you need to navigate to the Workflows tool. You get there by going to Automations over here and clicking on Workflows. Once you're here, if this is your first time, you'll see a little kind of welcome note and a button to create your first workflow. But if you have some workflows already, you'll see a list of the workflows that you have in here and this Create Workflow button in the top right. When you create a workflow, you can choose from scratch or a template. If you're new, I do recommend exploring the templates for inspiration and get kind of a quick start with some of those templates. But today we're going to go from scratch. And the first thing you're going to notice is you can pick the type of workflow. So the type of workflow is going to depend on the type of object that the workflow is being enrolled in. So you can trigger based on that object or associated objects, and you can take action on that object or other objects associated to it. So a contact-based workflow is going to trigger based on actions a contact takes or an associated object to a contact. Company is a company, deal, ticket, etc. Pretty much every object in HubSpot does have a workflow type. Again, your access is going to depend on your license, but we can do quotes, conversations, feedback submissions through surveys, goals, invoices, the users in our account, and if we're using enterprise with custom objects, we can even trigger automations based on those. So today we're going to do a simple contact-based workflow, and we're going to start with a blank workflow here and hit next. So in this tool, you're going to see a few things. I recommend starting with the workflow name. So we'll leave ours unnamed for the purposes of this demo, but name it according to a naming convention that your team has set up so that you can always find and easily sort through the workflows that you need. So always start here. A lot of people miss this, so I always recommend just starting there, getting it out of the way. Next thing you're going to see is the menu bar. So we've got a few things across the top. Under File, we can do things like clone this workflow, export a picture for documentation, organize this, so apply business unit labels, campaign labels, move it to a folder, so we've got folder organization, etc. Edit is going to be able to do pretty much everything you can do in this center pane. The center pane, I think, is a little more intuitive, so we're going to do all of our edits here. Settings, I'll go over here at the end. View, we can view things like past revisions to this workflow, the performance analytics, which again I'll show you at the end here, enrollment history and troubleshoot that, action logs, all of that good stuff. And then workflows are complex. As you'll see, there is a lot you can do, so they've also given us some help tools in here. We can visit the knowledge base and have some troubleshooting if anything is going wrong with our workflows. So then beneath that, we have our workflow builder. So the first thing that you're going to edit is the trigger. Not all workflows will have a trigger. There may be some workflows that you only want to be able to enroll objects in manually, so they only go into it when you say, yep, enroll this contact into this workflow. Most workflows, though, are going to have an automated trigger. So when this happens, somebody automatically gets added to our workflow. So that's what we're going to do in this case. So we're going to set up our trigger, and you'll notice we've got 4 different types of triggers. So the first one is when an event occurs, like when a form is submitted, and that's what we're going to use today. So we're going to build a nurturing workflow so that when somebody downloads an ebook or fills out a form to request an ebook download, that we're are going to deliver that ebook in an email and also nurture them with a series of emails, what's called a drip sequence. So when an event occurs like a form submission, you can also have when filter criteria is met. So when certain properties have certain values. So, everybody in the state of California, if the state is California, enroll them in this workflow, things like that. Or based on a schedule. So based on a date property, like their birthday, based on a recurring schedule, like annually. Maybe you're an accounting firm and you want to send kind of a pre-tax season drip sequence. You could do that annually for contacts. So base it on time. And then when a webhook is received, if you've got integration that's sending webhooks to HubSpot, you can have that trigger an automation as well if you have the appropriate license. So we'll get into our when an event occurs. And we're going to do a form submission. You'll see we've got all kinds of events here in this list. I like to use the search, just saves us lots of time. So form submission. And right now it's going to enroll contacts in this workflow for any form submission, which we don't want. We only want them in this workflow if they fill out our ebook form. So we're going to add some criteria. We've got different types of criteria that we can add, but I'm going to do form name, and I'm going to select our ebook form. The ebook download form, and I'm done with that trigger. We can also refine this further. So if we want to say, let's say we only serve the state of California, I'll keep that example. So we only want to nurture people that are in that state. We could add a criteria, go to contact properties, pick state, and enter California. So we could do things like that. We can also filter based on associated objects. This is relatively new in HubSpot workflows, being able to access data. So if this contact is associated to a company, we could filter this down based on a property that lived on that company record. So after you have this set, you're also going to want to look at these tabs across the top. So the middle one here is our unenrollment tab. And we can do 3 different things here. So the first thing we can do is say that if a contact is on a specific list, make sure they don't get in this workflow. Call it a suppression list that's managed in the list tool. So once you select that, you can select a list that already exists inside of your list tool. You can also say that when contacts meet a goal, we want them to unenroll from this workflow. This also gives you great reporting about what percentage of contacts or any object that you have in the workflow, what percentage of those objects meet the goal. So we are going to use this today because we're going to nurture our ebook downloaders, and the thing that we're asking them to do in those nurtures is to book a call with us. So if they do that, then we want to take them out of this. We don't want to invite them to do something they just did, right? Then they'll know it's automated and it kind of takes away all that magic. So we're going to say contacts met a goal. We're going to do form submission. You can see there's lots of options, and we're going to do our consult form. Doesn't matter what page they filled out, so we'll apply that. We can have multiple different filters with our and logic or logic here, but we just got this simple one. We'll save it out. So now if they meet that goal, we'll be able to report on it, and they'll be pulled out of this workflow. And then we've got this contacts no longer meet the enrollment criteria. So it's not available for us on a form submission, but if there is filter criteria like property values that somebody may not meet anymore, so they met it to be enrolled, they're in this workflow, maybe the workflow takes a few days with our delays, and at some point they no longer meet that criteria, you could check this box to make sure they get removed. So that may be necessary depending on your use case. And then our re-enrollment says, okay, do we want this contact to only enroll in the workflow the first time they meet the trigger criteria, which is what the default is, or do we want to turn this on? So in our case, every time they fill out that form, they get all these nurture emails. We don't want to do that, so we'll leave that off. We can save it. All right, so the save button is important. A lot of HubSpot's tools kind of auto-save as you go. There will be a save button on a lot of the things that you do in workflow, so you want to make sure you're always hitting that. That'll disappear. Save it here, and now we've got our trigger set. So anytime they have submitted the form of ebook download form, then they are enrolled in this workflow. So the next thing to do is to add our actions. And just like with triggers, and actually even more so, we have a lot of actions available to us. So these are the things that happen after somebody meets our trigger criteria. So we have, I think, six different categories of actions. So the first category is this row across the top, and this is going to control how objects move through the workflow. So are they delayed? Is there branch logic? Do we send them to another workflow? If we do have branch logic and we want to say, okay, they do these things, and then we want to send them over to this branch to do these things, we can use this go to action action as well. And then we've got 4 kind of primary categories. So communications, just like it sounds, we're sending communications to people. So we're enrolling them in a sequence. If we have Sales Hub Professional, Sales Hub Enterprise, we're sending them a marketing email. We're notifying our team either in-app, via email, via marketing email, or Slack. We can send our contacts WhatsApp messages. We can unenroll them from a sequence. So lots of ways to communicate with them. We also have lots of ways that we can update records inside of the CRM. So this is going to help us eliminate manual data entry, make sure we've got robust information in our CRM. So we can do things like copy properties from one object to another, set property values, increase property values, create associations between objects, label associations between objects, create tasks. So all kinds of actions here. Scroll through them slowly so you can get a glance. I won't read through all of these at you because there is a lot. Then we've got our marketing actions. This one's a little bit confusing because your send email, send WhatsApp message, which usually is used for marketing, is up in that communications tab. But everything else marketing related is right here for us. So if you're using Facebook or Google Ads connected to HubSpot and you're using target audiences that you're creating in HubSpot to target those ads, you can add them or remove them from an ad audience using a workflow. You can also add or remove contacts from a static list, and you can set their marketing contact status, which controls whether or not you're able to add them to lists, able to target them with ads, or send emails to them. We are going to use this in our nurturing workflow today because we want to make sure they are a marketing contact so they can get our marketing emails. So we'll come back to that. Next one is data ops. This is only available for Operations Hub users. We've got custom code, which is great for calling APIs of other applications for integrations, or even calling the HubSpot API if there's an action that's not available in a workflow, but it is available as an endpoint in the API, and you want to do it in HubSpot, automate it in HubSpot. Essentially, you can write custom code as a workflow action. We can also format data. So one use case for this, let's say you get a lot of people that submit like their first name in a form all lowercase. You want to make sure their first letter of their first name is always capitalized so that appears good when it's in personalization tokens and emails. You can do things like that. You can format phone numbers, all kinds of things you can do with format data. And then send a webhook also helps power integration. So if we need to send data to another application via a webhook, we can do that. Then our last category here is actions that are available to us through integrations that we have with HubSpot. So for example, if we've got this Google Sheets integration, we can create a new row in a Google spreadsheet, or we can update data in a Google Sheet. And of course, you can install apps directly from this. It'll take you to the HubSpot marketplace where you can see, I think they've got thousands of integrations now if there's a particular app you're looking to automate with HubSpot. So that is all of our actions. So with our use case, again, fill out that ebook form, get some emails from us. So we want to first make sure that they are a marketing contact so that they are able to get these marketing emails. We're going to set as marketing contact and save that. Now we want to send them our email. And the first email we want to send in this case is the email that has the ebook in it, just to make sure they got it. So we're going to send this email here, and we will search for it so we can follow it. These emails are all created in the email tool and set for the automation type. But if you don't already have it created, there is a link at the bottom here to create a new one. So it'll bounce you over to that email tool on a new tab so you can get that created. So we're going to save that. Now we're going to add some branch logic, because what we want to do is we want to say if they are the top of the funnel lead, nobody's got a relationship with them yet, we want to nurture them automatically. If they are somebody that a salesperson is working, an account manager is responsible for, we want that person to follow up as necessary with a little bit more of a personal touch. So we're going to say top of funnel lead here, add criteria. We're going to look at their contact properties and specifically their life cycle stage, because this is the best property to represent where they're at in that buyer journey, where they're at in your sales funnel essentially. So if they're any of the top two, subscriber or lead, they're a top of funnel lead, then we want them to go down this tofu lead branch, and otherwise we'll call them bottom of funnel leads. Save that. And now we've got these two branches. So green meets the criteria, red not. You can also, if you have other criteria, you can have more than two branches if you want to. So we're going to add our nurturing emails here, but we don't want our first nurturing email to go out right after the first email we sent, right after this email here. So we're going to add a delay. We can delay based on a lot of things, date properties, time, day of week, etc. But we want to do set amount of time. This is probably the most common delay. We're just going to delay today, and we'll go ahead and send our first nurturing email. So send email again, We've got a nurture email saved in here. And you can rinse and repeat for however long you want this drip sequence to be. Great thing about HubSpot is you'll be able to see lots of data about the performance, so you can optimize and kind of dial in the best drip sequence for you. So we'll add another nurture sequence here just so you can see a couple emails. Add that in here, hit save. All right, now what if they are a bottom of funnel lead? We don't want them to get this automated nurturing. We do want the person on our team that's responsible for them to get a notification that says that they took this action. So we talked about it earlier, right? We can send them in-app notifications, email notifications, send them a Slack notification. We can create a task for them. In this case, we're just going to send them an email. We're going to send it to an owner of this record, so the contact owner. We're going to set a subject line, so lead downloaded an ebook, and we can put whatever we'd like in the body, but we can also give our team some context with some personalization properties. So if we want to put their first name or their record ID, their HubSpot record ID, we can put whatever information we'd like in this email to give our team some context. So we're going to save that out, and now our team is going to get that notification. So now we've built all of our actions. There's a couple additional things that you'll want to do before you turn this on. So first of all, I do recommend build this out, leave, come back, review it again. Workflow mistakes can be big mistakes. This can be how you set too many marketing contacts. It raises your fee, send the wrong email to a bunch of people. So you do want to be pretty careful with these, any sort of automation you're setting up. But we do, once you're ready, once you have all your actions ready, your trigger ready, you do want to take a look at the settings. So settings can give you lots of handy tools, like being able to say, okay, we only want to run this workflow. Maybe we're B2B and we only want to run it, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We don't want to run it on holidays, so we can add dates to not run the workflow. We can schedule the workflow to turn off. So if the workflow is used to support a webinar or an event that's going to be over after a certain period, we don't want the workflow to continue after that, we can set a date to turn it off. We can set up internal notifications for ourselves. So if HubSpot flags any issues with this, or we have a big spike in enrollments or big decrease in enrollments, we can get notifications for that. And then we can also unenroll these contacts from other workflows just by their nature of being in this workflow. So we've got a lot of nurturing workflows going. You don't want to kind of get things crossed and have people getting a ton of emails. You can unenroll them from other nurturing workflows. So lots of settings there that are quite helpful. I'm going to discard those for now. And then once you're ready, you can test it. So if you test it, you select a contact, it'll show you kind of how it runs through those steps, and it'll send you all of the emails to you. So it doesn't do anything with the contact record, just shows you and then sends the emails to you if you check this box. It will send them all to you at the same time, so you don't have to wait 3 days to test it, which is nice. And then once you're ready, you're going to hit review and publish. And this is going to kind of help you double check all of the things that you set up. So if you have contacts that already meet this criteria, it's going to show this to you. It's going to give you an option to let the contacts that already meet the criteria run through this workflow, or only let contacts that meet this criteria after you turn the workflow on run through it. So it'll give you that option. It'll allow you to check your enrollment options here. So what are our triggers? What are our unenrollment sections? So check whether you have a goal set, for example, and then do we have re-enrollment turned on or off? Then we can hit next, and we can check those settings that we just went through around timing and notifications. We can also review what other things this workflow is interacting with, just to double check again that we've selected the right things. So what emails do we have in this workflow? What forms are we referencing? What properties are we referencing? So a great way to double check that. And then the last one here is our workflow details. So I mentioned having a name. You can also add a description when you edit that name. And the nice thing is HubSpot does have some AI tools here. So after you've added all of your actions and your trigger, you can hit generate. It's going to generate a little description based on what you have set up for the settings of this workflow. And you can edit this if you'd like and save that out so that people in the future, or even yourself in the future, can come back and know exactly what it is this workflow does. And then you can see all those organization properties around campaigns, folders, business units, etc. Once you're ready, you hit turn on workflow, and you are good to go. So nice and simple. Very, very quickly, we've already built a nice little nurturing workflow for ourselves. Once you've got contacts rolling through this workflow, you can also go to view here and go to performance. And this is where HubSpot's going to give you all those great analytics that HubSpot is really known for, right? So it's going to tell you, how many contacts have enrolled, how many of those contacts were unique if we've got re-enrollment turned on, how many contacts have enrolled in the last 7 days, what's that goal conversion rate? So of all the contacts that enrolled, what percentage met our goal? Enrollment over time graph, goal performance graph, so how many contacts met that goal over time. We also have some ways to troubleshoot, so any issues, our action logs, and our enrollment history here. So awesome analytics for this workflow. So now I'm going to bounce through just a couple other types of workflows so you can see them, get some inspiration. Nurture workflows, of course, aren't the only type of thing you can automate in HubSpot. So this one here is a workflow that's going to route leads and also create the new leads object in HubSpot. So anytime the lifecycle stage is marketing qualified lead, or we also have what's called a trigger property. So if somebody wants to enroll them in this workflow, they don't have to go through the work of manually enrolling them. They just update this property to yes, and it enrolls them. So the first thing that it's going to do is it's going to do a round robin assignment to our sales team. Then it's going to create a lead object and assign it to that contact owner that was assigned in this round robin. It's going to create a task for that user to reach out to that lead, and it's going to clear that trigger property so that it can be used in the future if necessary. So nice simple assignment workflow there. This is also kind of a unique use case where somebody has a custom property of email type and they want to know whether this is a work email or a free email. So if it's got any of those free email domains, once the email is known, if it's using any of the free email domains, it's labeled as free. If not, it's labeled as work. So great example of using one property to update other properties in HubSpot to minimize that manual data entry, but still make sure you have all the robust data reporting, data that you need for reporting, lists, segmentation, etc. And this is I love this example because it's a one action workflow, but super powerful in terms of like generating more results for your company. So let's imagine you've got referrals. We do have a video on HubSpot Hacks about how to kind of label referrals. So we associate contacts together. Contact A referred contact B, we associate those together, and when you look at contact B's record, you'll see a label on contact A that says this was the referral source. And so what this workflow does is anytime contact B becomes a customer, it looks at that contact and says, is there a referral source contact associated? If so, send them a thank you email. So it's a nice way to say, hey, this contact you referred to us became a customer, thank you so much. And it's a great way to kind of build some goodwill and potentially get more referrals. So they know they're appreciated. They're reminded you're top of mind for them as a person or a business to refer more business to. So a great simple workflow you can build in 2 minutes that can actually affect sales for you. So great workflow. All right, well, that's all we're going to show you today, but there is endless use cases for these workflows. We'll be coming out with some more videos soon with some more workflow examples. But for now, thank you so much for tuning in. Please come back next time for more HubSpot tips, tricks, and how-tos, and we'll see you then.